Kotis the Fangkeeper, 1 black, green, and a blue, a 2/1 legendary creature zombie warrior with indestructible, which is fantastic, and whenever Kotis deals combat damage to a player, exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. This card is absolutely bonkers, and it's a really good representation of like the Sultai Khan, right? He's gonna be like, hey, my deck, just go ahead, sacrifice yourself, whatever. As long as you make me stronger and allow me to hit my opponents, I'm going to take their cards, I'm going to beat them back with it. It's going to be awesome. So when looking at similar commanders to Kotis, we have Gonti from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, who was already a Sultai Mr. Take Your deck, but Kotis kind of just does it way better and way easier. Tasha finally kind of has like a place in a Mrs. Steelio Girl deck, because you're going to have a lot of cards that you yourself don't own. And then Rev from the Foundations is also pretty similar, in which she's taking stuff from your opponent's deck, but now, again, Kotis just kind of does it way better than all 3 of these cards combined. Next, we go over what specifically the commander wants. We see that the commander from Kotis' abilities specifically wants increased power, evasion, and the ability to return opponents' cards to the top of their decks when we want to be extra spicy, right? Because if they get a card out that we ourselves want to be able to cast, being able to go just like, boop, actually back to the top of your deck, and then I'm going to hit you and take all of those cards. That's like something very, very unique to Kotis that you'll be able to pull on your opponents that they're not going to expect, and they certainly won't forget. Next, we want to go over what the deck wants, right? Like, what cards does the deck need in order to facilitate what the commander wants, right? So the deck wants counter spells, because really, what more do we need from our own deck when we're hitting other people's decks and taking everything from them? So our deck wants counter spells, board wipes, because since we're indestructible, board wipes is basically evasion, tuck spells, so spells that put cards to the top of our opponent's library, equipment, or +1/+1 counters or auras are all going to be cards or different directions we can go to increase the power of our commander, and some of them do double duty, like giving trample or other forms of evasion. Next, we want controlled but not owned abilities, right? So some of those came in the Gonti Precon. If you control a card that you don't own, do X, Y, and Z. We might as well put those in the deck, because again, we're going to be taking everything from everyone else's deck. Cast from Exile support is also something that we're going to want to put into the deck, because we're casting from other people's decks by putting them into Exile and then casting that way. And then lastly, we want either like cast triggers, just like in general, and then very specifically, copying on hit or just triggered abilities in general is going to do double duty for us, because Kotis will be able to hit, and then if we double that ability with whatever, he's going to take even more cards and cast even more things for free. So then when we're looking at the deck, we actually have a +1/+1 counter typo right here. So Astarion's Thirst, that serves double duty as both removal and adding counters to our commander. Repulsive Mutation, +1/+1 counters and a counter spell. Slip Out the Back, a protection spell and +1/+1 counters. And then things like Thrash the Town, a versatile spell that gives you counters, gives you trample for evasion, and also lets you draw cards, right? So there's a lot of different options in the +1/+1 counter category that we could put in Kotis that will just kind of do triple duty on every single avenue. Cool anthems like Unnatural Growth. Moving on to evasion, we have things like Aether Tunnel to give unblockable, Audacity just gives power and trample at the end of the day, Feyflight gives us flying, Corrosive Mentor gives black creatures Wither, which is kind of a way to just say like, hey, get out of my way because I'm just going to destroy your creatures even if you block me. So maybe you should just let me hit you instead. And then of course, just tried and true, Slip Out the Back to just draw a card and become unblockable. Looking at the top of deck category, cards like Commit to return non-land permanents to the second from the top of your opponent's library, Expel from Mirazka, bringing permanents back, funny things like Harmonic Convergence, making everyone put all their enchantments to the top of their deck, so then you can hit someone and then take all of those enchantments for yourself. Like, that's really, really cool stuff that you can do. Honestly, my favorite card that chat mentioned, Misinformation, for a black instant, 3 cards from an opponent's graveyard to the top of their deck, and then Kotis just hits. and you get to do that instant speed, so no one's going to expect it. And then lastly, token doublers. Felix 5 Boots, Lithoform Engine, Roaming Throne, Strionic Resonator, Virtue of Knowledge, all of these say, hey, did your commander say whenever you deal combat damage, do blah 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 blah? Do that again. So Kotis is going to end up going through people's entire decks. If you give him just enough damage and double the ability, you're going to actually leave your opponents alive, because you kind of need them to be alive to keep those cards, and cast so many cards. You're going to end up winning the game as soon as you get one of these cards out. That's honestly my prediction. So while some people in chat might not feel that like Mr. Steelio decks are really like their vibe, for those who like Villainous Wealth, which was originally, you know, a Sultai mythic, being able to see Villainous Wealth repeated on a stick in the modern day will make some people really, really like the deck and become probably their favorite commander from this entire set. So if you yourself are looking for the next best Sultai commander for stealing your opponent's decks, and one that's going to be way better than the Gonti deck from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, then look no further than Kotis the Fangbearer.